Welcome to Integrated Wellbeing YouTube channel and podcast for people in grief and the professionals who serve them. We are here to provide education, inspiration, and practical tools for our audience by interviewing those bereaved by loss, mental health professionals, and grief specialists. Our mission at the Integrated Wellbeing Institute is to awaken the griever to their inner peace through the guidance of their body. And today, my guest is a local Portland business person, and his name is Kian Nikzi. And welcome. It's so nice to have you here today, Kian.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Well, it's very interesting because I walked in with my colleague, Annie Adams from Beyond Your Loss, to his beautiful store over in Selwood, a portion in Southeast Portland. And when we walked in there were gifts galore and this man. And he began to show us around, and pretty soon we found ourselves over in the corner where the chocolates were. Well, I have some wonderful friends who have everything. So what I did is I bought them the chakra chocolates. And I believe those people have been back to shop with you again.
Oh, yeah.
So what I know is people grieving, and those of us who work with you, we need soothing. And chocolate is soothing. And so we're going to explore today this amazing field that Kian is in. So I'm curious, what prompted you to become interested in becoming a chocolate maker?
Well, so I have always loved chocolate. You know, it's always
Really?
one of my favorite things. So in kind of like, I remember one of my favorite movies as a kid. My dad would show me Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Yes.
And I like chocolate, and I love the kind of the kind of magic of it that I didn't even know what it was. I didn't know that part. I just knew like it tasted good, and I love this thing a lot. And then like about 10, 15 years ago, I started getting really into meditation through running and through like actual sit down doing it. I signed up for Vipassana, and I started realizing I had this idea I started realizing that meditation's actually like, it's something there. It's not just like, it looks like people are just closing their eyes, but like there's really a lot going on there.
Yes.
And it's hard to, it was kind of like mind-blowing to me, like, oh my gosh, like there's actually this thing you can do that looks like you're just closing your eyes, but it's like there's a whole universe behind it. And so I thought, how do I introduce people to this in a way that's not like evangelical or religious? So I thought about chakra a lot, or I thought about creating a chakra chocolate or a box of chocolates that guides people through their chakras by, and it's kind of a mindful chocolate journey, a mindful a guided chocolate experience.
Fabulous. Now, some of our listeners are not going to know what the chakras are. So would you please explain that to them?
Yeah, it is a philosophy it's rooted in India, but for me, it kind of connects to it's everything. It's like, our bodies have thousands of meridians. They're energy centers, like, on your fingertips, on your throat, your nose, like an acupuncturist can tune into your meridians. But the chakras are like, there's 7 meridians that go up your spine, and they each kind of like are they connect to different organs. They have to do with different kind of things that are important to our life. The root being like, our physical well-being, the sacral chakra, which is the next one up, being our creativity, the solar chakra, and our stomach is like our fire, our drive, the heart, the throat, the third eye, and the crown. And so It's a really great way of connecting to your body. And if connecting to the different parts of yourself and finding out what's healthy, what's maybe blocked or might need some focus. And, it's just there's
And
many ways to do that, but it's kind of a structured way of doing that.
it is, and it's an ancient energy system. And in my training as a Rubenfeld synergist, we became aware of the chakras, and many of us who showed up for the training, Kian, had already become familiar with them because we've been doing yoga, we've been doing energy medicine of different kinds. And so do you have the chakra chocolate to show?
Well, I do have chocolate to show. I didn't have the specific chakra chocolate box.
Okay, well, show us what you've got today, because I'm so curious.
Well, so all of our chocolate is made from the cacao bean. So this is a cacao pod. This is
wow, it's really big. I've never seen one, Kian.
Yeah. So this grows off a cacao tree.
All right.
You crack it open, and you ferment the beans. And then you roast the beans, and then you grind them up into a paste, which is chocolate. So
where do they grow? Where do I find a tree like that?
Very close to the equator is Peru, Costa Rica, Hawaii. They grow many places in Africa.
Okay, wonderful.
But it's been a very special plant, like to early civilizations for a long time. The Aztecs, Mayans, the cacao was kind of the center of their civilization. Some say it was their currency, were the cacao beans.
Yes.
A lot of their art, was about cacao. So it was kind of like a really important thing to them. And when the Spanish came and took it, they left behind a lot of the traditions. And so chocolate got famous, went around the world without really, people really connecting to what it actually was. And so it's cool now because a lot of people are reconnecting to actually what it was. It's not just, Nestle and Hershey's and, they're taking everywhere. So there's a lot to it.
Thank you.
And it's a great delivery system. Like, I think of chocolate as almost being like a host at a party. And there's many herbs in the forest, many herbs and ingredients and things that, it's hard to get people to even want to look at, as if they might be good for you, but who's going to consider it? But a chocolate, when you include chocolate can, which is kind of plain by itself, you can add all sorts of different things and create the most complex flavors that can work when they're balanced. So kind of like the chakra system. So yeah.
So I'm very curious. If you can, please share what are the ingredients or the essence of each of the chakra chocolates in this particular product.
So the root chakra, there's a lot of ingredients in each one.
I'm sure. So just give us like two or three at the most. Or the most important one to you.
Yeah. I mean, they're kind of, there's so many different ways of doing each of those chocolates, but we kind of they kind of taught us to make chocolate because we had like all the herbs and ingredients that were either by color or by their what they did do for your body, kind of connected them to the chakras. So the root chakra was like dandelion root, for instance, beet, which is red, pomegranate, which is red. It has black sesame seeds, shilajit, which is all very dark, very rooty, very, just kind of grounding thing.
Right.
And then when you move up to the sacral chakra, which is much more playful and fun, creative.
And orange.
Orange. So it's got orange blossom. It has almonds. It has a little bit of cardamom. It has cinnamon, so it's a little bit of that spice in a good way. It has maple. And then the solar chakra, which is a great one, is fire. So it's curry up. It's called curry up, and there's curry, there's curry powder, there's ginger, there's lots of ginger in the curry up one. There's turmeric, which gives it that kind of yellow color.
Yes.
There's cashews. The heart is nice because it's a very green kind of,
Yes.
it's a green chakra, and
Yes.
and a lot of the things that we use are kind of serve the heart and the blood.
Oh.
So spirulina,
Mhm.
hawthorn, mulberry, I think we have the figs are in that one as well.
Nice.
And then, throat is osha, which is a
Yes.
native root.
And the
Um,
color is sky blue for the
yes,
throat.
yep, sky blue, honey, bee pollen, those type of
Mm.
things for the throat. The third eye is something we use an herb called eyebright, ginseng, ginkgo, blueberry, and then the crown
Okay.
chakra, which is kind of like the all-encompassing. It's like the
Yes.
radar that opens up to the universe.
Yes.
The pineal gland. There's a lot of ways of doing that one, but it's lavender. It's called sweet satori, and lavender is a big part of it, as well as goji berries. And
Neat.
yeah, I'm just
Well, and that's really cool. Thank you for doing that, because I immediately got blueberry is navy blue is what I've learned for the third eye. And
Mhm.
then the crown is purple. So here we have the lavender.
Yeah.
So this is really neat that each ingredient that I heard you say has a color of that chakra.
Yeah.
So that's really, really cool. And
Right.
I also heard you say when I was going to chocolate making school. Tell us about that.
Well, I actually didn't ever go to chocolate making school.
Oh, you didn't? Okay, I
No,
misunderstood.
but what was interesting is what taught us to make chocolate. What taught us to make chocolate was there was this idea, like the chakra chocolate. I didn't know how to make
Okay.
chocolate, but me and like 3 other people got together,
Yes.
and we had these ingredients, and we started putting together what the chocolates were. And they were
Oh.
honestly, they were really bad at first. So like when we first started like making these chocolates,
Mine weren't. You must have worked on them a long time, because mine
yes,
were really
like,
good.
but yeah, we were like, we would make them. We were still proud of them. We would be like, yeah, this is good. But really, they didn't taste good, and people would eat them, and we're like, oh yeah, good job. Like, but they were so complex, and we were putting way too much of some herbs. Like they weren't
Yes.
balanced. We didn't know how to temper chocolate. We didn't know what we were doing. We were just doing it, and we would have these. We'd stay up all night, making chocolate, and it was fun. But eventually, we did it over and over and over and over again, and they started to kind of fine tune and become something that works. And through doing that, like, we learned there's a lot of things that if I would have gone to chocolate making school, they would have told you, oh, you can't do this and you can't do that, and I probably would have been making a very good kind of chocolate you see everywhere, instead of a very unique kind of chocolate, because we were doing all these things that they tell you you can't do, and we would just
Mhm.
do it and figure out how to make it, and it worked. And so we've kind of taught ourselves, and I'm happy we did.
I am happy you did too, because the energy of them, I bought one for myself in case you're all wondering, and the energy of the chocolates was just so lovely, and I savored them.
Yeah.
I didn't eat like all 7 of them in one day.
Yeah.
But it was absolutely amazing. Well, I'm curious, what are you aware of the science-based benefits of chocolate for people grieving? What does chocolate do for the mood of a person?
Well, chocolate, I mean, a lot of people want to go to chocolate when their mood is down. I think they're like, uh, when you're feeling depressed, or when you're like just going through a lot, like, people go and they want to eat chocolate because it gives them something. And I think there is something very powerful with chocolate. There's a reason why, like, chocolate companies kind of have exploded to kind of be so huge in our world, because I do think
Mhm,
there's something really powerful with the chocolate plant and the chocolate energy.
mhm.
Um, and but it's funny, like, when you add, like, a lot of chocolate that you buy, that's mass produced is like, it's
Yes,
not even chocolate. It's pretty much, it's mostly sugar and other things.
I
But
see.
if you make, there's so many smaller chocolate makers now that are popping up everywhere that are actually using real cacao, and they're not adding a lot of other additives. And
Mhm.
when people really slow down and just mindfully connect to what's happening from when they, smell the chocolate, put it in their mouth, experience the flavors, it can really connect you to your body and to what's happening, what you're experiencing.
The
Because
present moment.
the present moment, because like, when you're going through grief, like sometimes you just want to escape it.
Exactly.
And but sometimes the best thing to do is just momentarily really connect to it, to connect to
Exactly.
what's actually happening, because it's a sacred moment. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, probably a lot of people who they're either going through grief that you're working with or have gone through grief. But the ones who have gone through it, probably, I know for me, like some of the hardest times of my life, I look back like on those times and they were so painful, like excruciatingly painful. But yet when I look back and the memories of them are so special, it was almost like I was being reborn or something. And I can almost like smell the air on those specific days. And they're super special. And I think chocolate brings us to the moment.
Mhm.
It's like the tool for connecting to the moment and connecting to ourselves.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
used the word soothing when I introduced you and initially talked about chocolate. And that's what I find about it. The texture of it, how
Mhm.
how it moves around in my mouth. It is in that present moment that for me is very calming,
Yeah.
soothing. Even when I eat the chocolate that's got like hot pepper in it,
Oh
I
yeah.
I still find the viscosity and the texture of the chocolate very, very smooth and soothing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and the audio that we include with our box of chocolates is really important for that, because I mean, you can just eat it and enjoy it, which a lot of people do. But
Yes,
if you play the guided meditation that goes with it, it's really meant to kind of stretch out the chocolate eating experience and bring you into, the moment of
mm.
every flavor of every, herb, um,
Mhm.
special in that way.
I'm curious, have people come back then to you in the store, Kian, and expressed how the audio affected them and
Yeah.
impacted them? What have
Yeah.
they said? What are some of the things they've said?
Oh, well, one of the most recent ones, because it's overlooked a lot of times. Because a lot of times people pick up the chocolate for as a gift.
Yes.
And I'm explaining to them, like, oh my gosh, like the audio, this is where it's at. And then they give it to somebody as a gift, and the person who gets it doesn't really understand, like, this is a very unique thing and how special it
Mhm.
is. And but we have people that do it, and then they come back and they're like, oh my gosh, they've done it, they do it together with other people, like one person in particular. A lot of times the people who come back and talk to me about it, they play the audio in a group and they do it all together, and it kind of bonds them together, and they're like, oh my gosh, this is fun, and it's such a unique way of experiencing something together, like
Yes. Inst-
uh yeah.
yeah.
So
Oh, that's really neat. Now, when they do that, does each person have their own set of the chocolate chakra? I'm not even saying it right, I don't. Chakra lots.
yeah,
Or is it something that they can share between 2 or 3 people? I'm curious.
it's very shareable. Like
Okay.
we brought a box of chocolat to a group of meditators in Kauai, and shared one box with like 11 people. And
Wow.
they're all like, oh my God, this is the most amazing thing. How is this not all over the world? And so it like you could take a small bite of each chocolate and really
Mhm.
experience what it's meant, what the meaning behind it is. Uh,
That's
for one person to eat a whole box is kind of a lot.
mhm.
And two people sharing a box is probably a lot. Like,
Yes.
yeah, it's a lot of chocolate. So I think
Mhm.
I think
Mhm.
just like a quarter piece of of each chakra is good.
It's plenty. And
Yeah.
has anybody come back and said to you that it soothed anxiety? Have you gotten any
Oh
feedback
yeah.
specific? Well, tell us more,
Well,
because
so
anxiety is just rampant right now.
I mean, okay. Well, maybe I'll shift a little bit and talk about a couple things. So
Okay.
we just released a box called based on the book The Prophet.
Oh, wonderful. I love that book.
So we made a chocolate for 9 of the chapters. And
Wow.
so people could go through and in the same way have these poetic chapters of these words that really soothe and give people groundedness to life, like the kind of the keys of life, you know?
Yes.
And so that box, we've had people say that it really helped them because, they're just sitting down thinking they're having a box of chocolates, but then they're like connecting to this beautiful, like sacred wisdom. We have a version that we've done with couples that connect. A couple does it together and it connects, they're going through this chocolate experience together. That really
Yes.
is helpful for relationships. And we do these 2 things.
Yes.
This
What else did you
actually,
bring?
this is actually not even chocolate, but it is our best-selling product.
What is it?
It's called sleep butter. It's
Oh, I bought some for a friend.
yeah, so we make a chocolate box to help you go through your dreams called Dream Chocolate. And it comes with a dream journal, and it like the whole idea behind it is that you eat a chocolate at night and the herbs in the chocolate help you sleep and dream, and in the morning you write down, you answer questions for each day, and it helps you kind of figure out what your dreams are about. When I came out with it, a lot of people were like, that's so cool, but I don't really have time to go through my dreams right now. I just really need to get a good night's sleep. And so I figured out that chocolate kind of has a little bit of a waking energy building effect.
Yes,
So
it does.
I decided to remove the chocolate and do cashews. So I made
Oh,
cashew butter that has the sleep herbs that help you sleep. And I get some of the emails I get from people are like, I can't even believe it, because they're just like, oh my God, this has changed my life. Like, I was not able to sleep. I don't know how this thing has helped me to still sleep so much. So sleep is a very important thing. If you're not getting sleep, you're definitely gonna have a lot of anxiety. So I'm gonna say that this product helps people with their anxiety a lot, just by helping them sleep and kind of calm their anxiousness at night so that they can just drop in and fall asleep. So
I can't thank you enough for bringing it, because I had forgotten about it.
yeah.
And one of the aspects of the physical aspects of grief is insomnia.
Mm.
And there are so many people for whom sleep is elusive when they're in that raw and fragile grief.
And you want it so much.
Yes. And the reason I invited Kian here today is not to sell his chocolates, but to allow those of you who are grieving and those of you who are professionals working with people grieving to be aware that there are other aspects that can support us in our grief.
Yeah.
And when I discovered you and your chocolates, it's like, oh my goodness, this is profound.
Mhm.
It's really neat. So are there other products that you brought that you can tell us about?
The other one that we are really in love with, we really like mushrooms a lot.
Yes.
And feel like mushrooms are like teachers. Like, mushrooms are not exactly plants and they're not human, but they're
Right.
something in between. They breathe in oxygen. They breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide. Like,
Yes.
but yet they grow in the forest. And in the forest, like the way that mushrooms work with trees is if a tree is sick or in need, the mushrooms or the mycelium in the ground will connect to the roots and kind of give the trees what it needs. So they're the caretakers. And so we made this 2 things, another butter called gray matter, brain building butter, that you eat during the day, and it helps you It has lion's mane, reishi, cordyceps, turkey tail, all the mushrooms that are kind of like major healers.
Yes.
It just having it with you, people notice a difference when they have these mushrooms.
Mhm.
So we have this one, which just tastes amazing. It's one of the most amazing tasting things we've ever made. And then this, which is like a mushroom coffee, kind of
Oh,
a replacement or something you add to your coffee, and just it's just gonna boost your energy, boost your mood, and but mostly I think it includes these mushrooms in your being to do
mhm.
what they do in the forest even. So that's
Yes.
how I see them. Like you don't even have to know what they're doing. It's just there. I see them as living beings, and
And
they work with us. And if you're just like a tree that could be going through a tough time in the forest will be
mhm.
assisted by the mycelium. Humans, I think, can be assisted by mushrooms and mycelium when they're going through a tough time to get them what they need to get to the other side.
I'm really glad that you brought these because I was working with a corporate client who had a severe case of COVID
Mm,
and was in a place of long COVID.
mm,
And one of the things that I suggested to this person was to watch the Netflix documentary, which is Fantastic Fungi, which
yeah,
was in 2019.
yeah,
And this person and I were working together in 2021, but I had heard enough people talk about this. This person watched it with their family that night, immediately then went out and got what they needed for support from the fungi
yeah,
and made a miraculous recovery. Now,
yeah.
once again, the purpose of our program today is not to sell anything.
Sure.
It's not to treat, because you and I don't diagnose and treat, but
Right.
it's simply to say that there are so many facets in grief. Take a look at this,
Yeah.
see if it's right for you.
Right. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So the fantastic fungi and Paul Stamens, he's one of my heroes, and just the way that he's kind of awakening the world to, the gift that mushrooms are. At, and I think the gift that mushrooms are even kind of like what you bring is like, kind of finding the gift of grief. It's hard to see the gift of grief in the perspective that we're given a lot of times. Like, this is bad,
Absolutely.
closing me down, this is stopping me. Like, there's so much only bad, but really, like, grief can be the greatest gift. Uh,
Mhm.
with a perspective shift. And I think mushrooms are such a huge like ally when it comes to helping us have the perspective shift we need to kind of
Yes,
break out of, some place that we can be stuck for years and years and years. Um, if I mean, you can talk to counselors, you can talk to people, and they can suggest with words, but when something can work from inside of you to help you break through, that's that's a whole different level.
it is, because grief is an inside job, and
Yeah.
that's where we have to do the work. And it's interesting, Kian, because I was in Greece, and it was in the northwest part of Greece. So I wasn't sailing around on any of the islands or doing that stuff. We went to a truffle hunter, and
Mm,
she was the first truffle hunter in Greece.
wow.
And she trained her dogs to find the truffles. And I have a video of them out in the forest. And then we came back and we had this miraculous dinner, linen tablecloths, china. And we started with a course of mushroom soup with grated truffles.
Well,
And then we went on to a truffle risotto, and we had wild boar with homemade pasta in truffle sauce, and the best escalloped potatoes I've ever had in my life with with mushrooms. And then for our dessert, we had this creamy white pudding kind of stuff with candied chanterelles and a
mm,
syrup that was made out of these candied mushrooms.
wow.
It was absolutely my favorite meal of the 14-day trip. It was just out of this world. And I slept the best that night of any of the nights that I had been on the tour.
Wow.
So, it's just the whole purpose of this podcast, this YouTube channel, is to support people who are grieving. What works for one doesn't work for another. We know that. But I wanted people to hear from you. And just looking at the background that you've got, it's so nurturing. It's so soothing to see the green and your Buddhist statue. It's
Yeah.
wonderful.
We've got them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So as our time together comes to a close, and we're certainly not in any rush, I'm curious, are there any closing remarks you have or invitations, or what would you like to say to our listeners?
Well, definitely check out our website.
And what is that? You're going to send it and it's going to be posted below this.
Yeah, so Chakra Lot. So it's like a mixture of play on words, chakras and chocolate. So chakralot.com. CAKRALOT.com.
Okay.
I'll send that. That's where you can see our website. All our products are there. We have the coolest shop if you live in Portland, in Selwood, called Milieu Collective. And pretty much like we gather together makers who are doing amazing magical things, who are, we have an insect museum by this amazing woman named Jessica, who created a bug zoo for people to go and kind of experience live insects, and she educates them. For some people, insects are scary, but she really helps people with the phobias, and she has like so many people that just love what she does. And we have Roland Forrest, who makes this amazing tea from the forest. And all summer long, every Friday in July and every Saturday in August, we're having a kind of night market that will happen outside of our space with live music, artists, crafters from all over Portland. So come on out.
That's neat.
It's the first year we're doing it, and so it's going to be so it's probably July, right? And so come out on a Friday night and see this amazing thing that we're putting together. So
yes, and be sure you come to Portland, Oregon, not Portland, Maine, not Portland, Tennessee, but Portland, Oregon. That's where the shop is. And it was really interesting because when I walked in there, I'm sensitive to energy and environments, and I immediately felt the calm and yet the creativity and excitement is what I experience with creativity. And so for me, it was one of those things that if you are a person listening to this who knows someone who is in grief, I'm going to give you the invitation and the coaching from one of our previous guests, Reverend Christine Green, that you call this person and you say, I'm going to, what's the name of the store again? You call it?
Milieu Collective, MILIEU.
Okay, Milieu Collectives, would you like to come? Now, the grieving person, the person grieving may say, nope, I just can't go anywhere. And I'm going to invite you to call once a month and invite them. Because remember what our guest, Christine Green, taught us on June the 6th, when her podcast was published. She taught us about the person that would call her maybe once a month, maybe more than that, and invite her to go here or there. And Christine said no for the longest time. And finally, one day she said yes. So that's why we're doing this podcast. That's why we're doing these YouTubes, to teach those of us who have someone we love that's in grief, how to support them. Yeah. And you may simply buy them the gift of the sleep. What's it called again? Sleep what?
Sleep butter.
Sleep butter made with cashews, and provide that as a gift. Yeah.
It is.
Yes. Yeah. Mhm.
spoonful of sleepiness.
Mhm. Mhm.
Which I actually didn't know how well it worked because I sleep pretty good. But then I got COVID like a year and a half ago, maybe. Maybe it's
Okay.
and I was so exhausted, but I couldn't sleep.
Oh,
And then I had my wife bring me 2 jars, and I just literally I would wake up, I would eat a spoonful, and go back to sleep. And I slept 4 days straight, and then I was better. It's like my body just needs sleep.
wow.
But I didn't want to watch anything. I didn't want to read anything. I just wanted to sleep, but I couldn't. And this allowed me to kind of push me over the edge. So
That's very interesting. It really, really is.
yeah.
So once again, thank you for coming. As I was reading our introduction, we have those bereaved by loss, mental health professionals, grief specialists, and now we can say we have a chocolate maker.
That's right. Yes, I'm happy to help.
Oh, thank you so very, very much for joining us today, educating us today, and opening us to a new world of plant-based products that can support us when we're grieving.
Thank you. Yeah, well, thank you for having me, and look forward to seeing you again sometime soon.
Thank you. Well, maybe Friday,
Okay.
because you're
Yeah,
doing your thing.
that's right.
Friday nights in July
It's worth
and
it.
Saturday nights in August. So
Yes.
take good care. Thank you so much.
Bye
Bye.
bye.